This talk or webinar session is jointly organized by Lions Club International District 308B1 and International Psychology Center. The Lions Club are very passionate about creating awareness and helping children with cancer and their families. Lions Hope Brigade of Lions Club's International District 308B1 is a special task force set up for this purpose. We recognize the importance of family support when a child has cancer. However, most often, parents are lost and some have to suffer depression due to the fear of. So therefore, Lions Hope Brigade has decided to partner International Psychology Center in today's talk on dancing with depression to benefit the general public, especially affected by depression. Ladies and gentlemen, depression is not a choice. Therefore, do not tell the person with depression to stop thinking. There are wounds that never show on the body that are deeper and more hurtful than anything that bleeds. Although depression sounds like a very big word or scary word to many people and always makes people feel nervous, scared, or shunned away. But tonight, we're going to have this talk in a more relaxed manner with our very experienced speaker, and you can ask whatever questions you feel like asking about depression. You do not have to use jargon or technical terms and when you ask the questions, and no questions are silly questions. Now, let's look at our distinguished speaker's profile and credentials today. So our speaker for today's webinar is Dr. Edward Chan. He has a PhD in psychology, Master's in Science in Learning, Master's in Nutritional Medicine, Bachelor of Science Honors in Psychology, Postgraduate Diploma in Expressive Therapy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Get better. So he's also Principal Consultant Psychologist at the International Psychology Center, Board Certified Psychotherapist with the Malaysian Associate of Psychotherapy. Board Certified Psychotherapist at the International Society for Psychotherapy, Counseling, and Psychiatry. He's also the Fellow of World Council for Psychotherapy, and he's the invited speaker for the 9th World Congress for Psychotherapy 2020. He's also the keynote speaker for the 4th International Psychotherapy, Counseling and Psychiatry Conference 2020 on psychonutritional therapy. He's also the invited speaker for the 37th European Psychiatric Conference on the schema chemistry. So obviously, Dr. Edward Chan also has been writing a lot, and he's the author of many books, just to name a few. He's the author of Love is Never Enough, Pleasurable Commitment Rules for Couples. He's the author of Dancing with Crocodile. Maybe after this, he can write Dancing with Depression. How to work with manipulative people without being manipulated. He's the co-author of Positive Psychology Couple Schema Therapy in the Journal of Reattached Therapy and Developmental Diversities. He's the author of Positive Psychology Couple Therapy in the International Journal of Psychiatry. Not forgetting to mention the last but not least, Dr. Edward Chan is also an accredited reattached therapist. So ladies and gentlemen, if you notice the reaction button on your Zoom screen, where you can hit the button of clapping hands and give the like. So together now, let's put our hands together by hitting the clap buttons on your Zoom screen Let's welcome today's speaker, Dr. Edward Chan.
Thank you very much, Evelyn. Another very important credential was I was a Lion member.
Oh, okay. So Dr. Edward Chan is also a Lion member.
I was for a number of years in the Subpote Lions Club, where I served with my colleague for a few years. When I was giving a talk to the presidents of the Lions Club, that I got reacquainted with my uncle, also a Lion member, Alan Chan, I believe. Yes, that is an important credential, I guess. Yeah, welcome everyone. Good to see everyone.
Yeah, Dr. Chan, according to the newspaper report by Bernama posted on New Straits Times Online on the 10th of October, which is just 8 days ago, yeah, it was reported that almost 500,000 Malaysians experienced symptoms of depression. According to the 2019 National Health and Mobility Survey, 2019. So I reckon it is very timely having this talk now, and the numbers is so alarming. 500,000, yes, 500,000. Yeah. Would you like to comment on this report?
Yes, I mean, it's now a little bit dated because it was last year. I would imagine that because it's even more alarming and has a reason because of the COVID pandemic, you know, all the stressors being created from working at home. This brings about a lot of changes and changes in our society, in our economy, people losing their jobs, people are not able to go to work, and not being able to go to school, living together. So all this create enormous stressors would trigger depression even more, I'm sure. But generally, say compared to about 70 years ago, depression has risen tenfold. It's like 100%. Due to many reasons. Partly, of course, is due to the fact that we have better diagnostic tools, more awareness, and people seeking help. This is also due to the fact that we are living now in what I would call the age of depression, and particularly so because of COVID.
Yeah, okay, doctor. So when we are talking so much about, we're using the word depression so much, okay? But maybe some people, they still don't know what is it all about. So can doctor please explain in more details, like the big question, what is depression and how many types of depression are there? And what are the signs and symptoms of depression? And are they the same for adults and children? Maybe.
Right. As psychologists and psychiatrists, we have a manual called the Diagnostic Statistical Manual. Now it's a version 5, which lists a number of criteria you need to fulfill to qualify for clinical depression. This might include things like losing interest in activities, not being able to sleep or sleeping too much, you know, feeling tired, feeling suicidal, having low mood, you know, crying over the little things or not being able to cry. The number of these criteria that needs to be fulfilled. And this is mainly for a type of depression called major depression. But like you said, there are many types of depression. There are bipolar depression, for example, which is having a very low mood alternating with high mood or mania. And also situational depression, like depression that affects pregnant women, you know, before pregnancy, postpartum depression, postpartum depression after they get a child. And there are various life stages that are vulnerable to being depression, from children, like you mentioned, I know, children going to new schools, the death of a pet, moving houses, being bullied. So these are all stressors that affect a child. You know, teenagers are very vulnerable to having depression because they have all their hormonal changes, and they are very sensitive to being bullied. Nowadays we have the internet bullying as well, to friendship issues, and young adults, being vulnerable to looking for partners, and feel that their time is running out. And of course, adults with job situations, with relationship, marriages, birth of their children, all this bring about vulnerability to depression. Seniors as well, middle ages, as we retire, then our whole meaning of life change, affected by disease. And now you mentioned cancer, that would affect family members as well as the patient themselves. So, yes.
Yeah. So, doctor, when you say about the signs and symptoms, so for example, when you say grief or sadness or sleeping too much or too little,
Right.
loss of interest and all that. So, how long does these symptoms last? Can be considered as depression? Is it like a single episode, or is it like over a prolonged period?
It has to be at least lasting for 2 weeks for it to be diagnosable as the depression. So yes, that is important, for at least 2 weeks.
So if it's like after 2 weeks, I don't feel fat anymore, then
yes,
it's considered as depression. Yep. So
yes.
Doctor, do you have any statistics show that which type of depression is the most common type? Or and then how do people know that like which type of depression they have just by looking at the signs and symptoms, or do they need to seek help from the professionals?
Well, there are lots of similarities between all this type of depression. The list of criteria like low mood, loss of appetite, loss of interest, being tired, loss of sex drive. All these are in common with most types of depression. The only one that might differ somewhat is bipolar depression, whereby there's also the high mood or mania, we call it. But for most other type of depression, it is the low mood, low energy, what is in common with them. When you recognize many of these symptoms, and the other one is being irritable, having anger, we are much more sensitive to situation, to stressors around us, then one should continue seeking maybe some professional consultation to rule that out, that it might be a clinical depression.
Okay, thank you, doctor. So my another question is like, what is the difference between depression and mood disorders or mood swing? So for example, just now doctor said that if you experience a sadness period for at least 2 weeks, and then you can go, you might be diagnosed as having depression, right? Right. So So what is the difference between depression and mood swing?
With mood swing, you have various mood. It can be high mood, like we mentioned with bipolar depression. Normally, the mood swing with bipolar depression would take a while. It's like over maybe a few days or even weeks. But sometimes it can be mini episode of mood swing, so that can also happen. Person can feel elated and then down as well. There is a condition called borderline personality disorder, which is also a diagnosable psychological disorder, whereby people suffering from this disorder, they will very often get mood swing as well. They're easily triggered by external events that can be elated and then suddenly feel very down. All right. So to some extent, mood swing of course would happen to all of us. But if it's very extreme, right, it's either very, very high or very low, then this is something we need to look out for.
Okay. So, what actually happened? Because I'm not from the medical side. I believe that many of our audience maybe not from the medical side as well. We actually want to know very much what happened in the brain during depression.
Well, the brain has a number of chemicals called neurotransmitters, and a number of them are particularly related to depression. You probably have heard of drugs like Prozac, Xanax, very popular drugs that people in the West take it almost very casually. You know, it's called the happy drugs. And the way these drugs work is to really boost one of these neurotransmitter called serotonin. So there are a number of these chemicals, serotonin, GABA, dopamine are all linked to depression. So when chemicals or neurotransmitters are low, then one is vulnerable to being depression. I might add that we run a lab called WellLab in Kuala Lumpur, where we are able to do a urine test and measure these neurotransmitters quite routinely. So it's quite easily identified if some of these chemicals are low. There's also hormones like a stress hormone cortisol. If it is elevated and high for a period of time, then one can also get depressed, right? Okay. So there's evidence for that as well. Yeah.
So that means the influx of the cortisol become larger and more active, is it?
Yes, and the other problem with that is it would disturb our sleep. This is another cause for the depression, the lack of sleep.
When the cortisol, when the influx of the cortisol become larger, does it mean that our brain actually inflamed?
Yes. You're right. So inflammation is another major cause for depression. But the connection with sleep is when cortisol increase, it would deplete the sleep hormone called melatonin. And that's why people have insomnia and cannot sleep during depression. Yeah.
So one of the very prominent or obvious sign or symptoms is actually about the sleep, about the disturbance of the sleep.
Exactly. Right? There are various stages of sleep, the light sleep, to a deep sleep, to a dream sleep called the REM, and then back to light sleep. So if one spend a much longer time on the stage one before going into the deep sleep, then this would convert them into depression. So there's a lot of evidence now to that we can predict depression based on people spending longer time on their low quality of sleep, the stage one of sleep before they go into the deep sleep.
Yeah. So our audience might want to take a note about this. So the disturbance of sleep is actually really can be a big problem.
Yes.
Can be
Can be a big problem.
So this doctor talked about the urine test. So may as well I ask what kind of diagnosis can be carried out in your lab other than urine tests so that you can determine a person is having depression as an illness?
Right. We can also measure hormones like melatonin that I mentioned, the sleep hormone, and as well as cortisol. We do a 6-point saliva test to measure these hormones. All right. So we can see the fluctuations of the cortisol and melatonin. There's also another hormone called DHEA, which is like an anti-stress hormone. So all this can be measured, and we have a reference range. So if it fluctuates too much out of that, then we know the person is vulnerable towards getting depression. There's having like too much stress and not enough sleep hormone, then they are very vulnerable.
So all these tests on the saliva and hormones, they are actually also considered as the gene test, is it?
No, that is different from a gene test. It's actual hormone. Gene is our potential, right? It's our potential of, we have a gene which would determine our reception for some of these hormones, and also genes that determine our ability to break down some of these neurotransmitters. Some of us have gene that break the neurotransmitter too fast. So we end up not having enough of these chemicals because a gene that upregulates some of our brain enzymes. So that is can also be measured and see whether we have this vulnerability. But the hormones and the urine are actual situation that is going on with us.
Okay, so Doctor, come back to the COVID-19. So COVID-19, lockdown worldwide, the movement control order, MCO, and then we have the recovery movement control order, RMCO, and then now we have the conditional movement control order, CMCO. So whenever people heard of MCO, lockdown, okay, all these words also cause emotional distress to hundreds and thousands of people, not only in Malaysia, but all over the world. Yeah, like you said, following the changes in working environment, loss of income and jobs, and fears for safety and lives are threatened. So, according to the New Straits Times, the Ministry of Health recorded 465 attempted suicide cases between January and June this year. Yes, just this year, 465 attempted suicide. So, doctor, so is the situation really that bad now? So since the outbreak of COVID-19, so how many % of people who seek treatment from you are because of they are affected or hit by COVID-19 severely?
Yes, COVID-19 certainly contributed greatly to the rise of depression. Depression is dangerous. A depressed person can be suicidal. So we treat this very seriously. And when we see a patient that have a suicidal risk, we will do a suicide plan and an anti-suicide plan with them, ensuring that they have someone to talk to whenever they have this suicidal thought. So that is very important that we do this to prevent suicide. Patients that try to commit suicide, that the risk of this really happening again is very high. So we need to take this very seriously.
Okay. So, Doctor, we have a question from our audience here. So, our audience asks, how do you measure tiredness against depression? So,
right.
Could you elaborate more on this one?
How do we measure what? Sorry.
How do we measure tiredness? I think it's fatigue.
Fatigue.
Depression.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there are the different levels. We would ask questions like, are you more fatigued than usual? Are you fatigued most of the time? Are you so fatigued that you cannot do anything at all? So these are like the different stages of fatigue, from mild to severe. That would be how I measure it qualitatively, by asking this qualitative question in some of the depression instrument that we have.
Yep. So Jeffrey and May. So I hope Dr. Edward has answered your question. Okay. Yeah. So come back to our COVID-19 just now. So if a person is feeling depressed and having suicidal thoughts at the time of, especially at this time of pandemic, okay, so is this considered as a situational depression? Just like because it's a special situation, and would this depression go away if the situation is gone? And how can people or people around them know the signs and symptoms earlier so that they can seek help and treatment in time?
Well, different people respond differently to stressors, to a situation like COVID. And these are largely determined by our psychological program. We call them schema. So early in life, we have different life experience. And from there, we develop various resilience against depression. So for example, some of us could have this schema called vulnerability to harm. So we feel more panicky when a situation like COVID arise, and this affect us in much more severe ways than other people, for example. So it depends on some of these psychological programs that we have, whether this is going to be transient or this is going to be more long-term, whether it's going to trigger depression or not. Different people have different resilience and tolerance. And one thing we do in the International Psychology Center is we try to develop inoculation, not depression inoculation in children and even in adults, so they can be resilient against depression. So that is the message I want to send to everyone, that you can actually learn how to be resilient against depression, right? You can inoculate yourself earlier, and this is a good time to do it. You don't need to wait until you get depressed clinically before you see a therapist.
Yeah. So learn how to be resilient.
Exactly. And we can talk a little bit about that. What are the habits that are good to enable us to be resilient against depression, to inoculate ourselves?
Yeah. Because I think what I saw on the news reported by News Straits Time on the 10th of October online as well. So according to the National Health and Mobility Survey, which was done in 2019 as well, I believe the numbers go up already. And then they found that 424,000 of children experience mental health problems. And then half of all mental disorders begin by the age of 14, and a quarter and 3/4 by the mid-20s. So this is really alarming, and I think it's really very serious. So I think what doctors said about learn to be resilient has already also started in their school, or maybe doctor can share with us how to teach kids to be resilient, like young kids. And then is it better through some programs or through the education system, or what? Yeah.
Yes, I think this is something the education system need to incorporate. On our part, we run a resilience camp for children, something we call the emotional intelligence camp for children and teens. We have been doing that, and in this camp, children learn how to really stay focused, be with nature, for example, rather than needing the smartphone and all the time. I remember having a group of children with me. We were in Genting, and that was so difficult for these children. Say, let's just be with nature, with a lovely environment, and they totally find that so difficult. So that is an example of what we call nature intelligence. And all these are ways to build up our resilience against depression, having connection, physical interactions, rather than, I know like we are in social media, Facebook, all these are important, but can also make one depressed. And children, teenagers, they are so aware and sensitive, and who is talking about them, what their classmates have, all this create a lot of insecurity in them. So we need to help them to manage all these tools in a emotionally intelligent way to inoculate them against depression and build up more resilience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So through the resilient camp, so it's all about managing your EQ, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, your EQ, your interpersonal skills, your flexibility is another very important resilient skills. You need to be adaptable, flexible. So that if there's some changes, like what we are experiencing now is huge changes, in every aspect of life, and those who are adaptable, then they'll be able to be more resilient. definitely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's something new to me. I don't know about the audience, maybe because yeah, it's great to hear about resilient camp. They're there for the children, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So, doctor, I think many of our audience they are very interested to know about the sleep disturbance. So there are many questions come in for you. All right. So yeah, the questions are okay. Is there any way to help people with depression due to bad quality of sleep besides being dependent on medication?
Well, yes. In fact, my very good frequency, that will help you sleep better without drugs. So all this is on the website. You can check on that. Yeah.
Okay, so the sleep bag,
Sleep
BAG.
bank. It's a sleep bank.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds very interesting. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Just a little device. I bring it wherever I go when that's.
Just like the small devices that people nowadays they test how many steps they've been walking, right? So it's like so you test how good your sleep is, right?
Yes, that can be done as well. There are ways to see whether you are having the right amount of deep sleep, light sleep, dream sleep, because all these different stages are important, like I mentioned. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, doctor, you did mention about like exercise and good diet can help to prevent depression or to maybe lighten the symptoms, right? So, we have a question here from our audience asking, how do we motivate a person with depression to exercise, to be more sociable, like to attend social functions, and sleep well and eat less?
How to encourage a person to do that?
A person that already having depression. Yeah.
Yes, this is what we call behavioral therapy, right? In behavioral therapy, we would prescribe different behavior and tell the patient to try out this behavior, go out and meet a friend, even though you really don't feel like it. So we're going to prescribe like a small part or just do up your accounts or do up some homework, just like spend 10 minutes doing that. And then when you do that, that would be rewarding itself. Then you get into the flow of doing something and you will feel less depressed. So there are a behavior that we can set to some of these things. Like exercise, for example, most of us do not like to go to the gym. But if we push ourselves to do it, and after that, we will feel much better. All right. So this is what we can tell those who are not motivated or who feel depressed. But of course, if you do something that is fun, I like to play doubles tennis because it's more fun. You have a group of people. Luckily in Malaysia, you can still do that like under for under 10 people. So that would be better than say working by yourself, have more interaction.
Yep. Thank you, doctor. So there are more questions coming. So another question is, how about if a person having a slight autism that he can't sleep and stay very active at night, but sleep only at daytime? So
we need to change, readjust the clock. This person sounds like they can sleep, but the clock gets topsy-turvy, turn around. Night become day, day become night. So like I mentioned, melatonin is excellent to help readjust this internal clock. So we might need to use some hormones and supplements to help the person, but also a lot of sleep hygiene that we need to slowly, hour by hour, help this child get back into sleeping at night. Right, that can be done. It's not overnight, on one day, but maybe one hour for a few days, and another hour you get it readjusted back. So that can be done. Right?
Yep. Okay, but this melatonin can only be prescribed by doctor, right? Okay.
Yes, in Malaysia, that is the case.
Yeah.
In Australia, I think you can just go to the pharmacist and buy it.
Yeah, just to stress it
Singapore
and
as
let
well.
the audience know. Don't simply go to the pharmacy and buy. You can't get it. Okay. All right.
Yeah, you can't unfortunately get it in Malaysia.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see what other questions here. Okay. The audience that would like to know more about bipolar depression and the split personality that you mentioned. Is it same as the borderline personality disorder?
Well, so certainly in borderline personality disorder, there are a lot of what we call splitting. Would almost have different personality. In one moment, they can be very happy, thinking that you are great, and then another moment that they will be very critical of someone, will be very, very dark. But there are also other disorders like dissociative identity disorders, multiple personality disorders. These are all different ways of splitting, which we will not get into, right? But certainly borderline, yes, common splitting, and bipolar depression as well. This is not splitting; it's just that they have high and low over a period of time. Normally, weeks and days, not just moment to moment, which is what will happen with borderline personality disorder. It can be very fast switch of splitting.
So that means if you are you are having borderline personality disorder, you're definitely having depression, or no?
No, in fact, if you have borderline personality disorder, you can feel very depressed, but this is very situational, right? This means that there are some situations that trigger this person with borderline personality disorder. Maybe someone did not greet them properly, or did not return their phone call, then they feel very abandoned, then they get very depressed. But when the person call them again, then they're out of the depression. Whereas someone suffering from clinical depression, it will be for a much longer time. It is not so situational.
Yeah. Okay. So so another question is depression hereditary? So is it like inheritance or?
Well, yes, there are vulnerability genetically. Like I mentioned, we have certain genes that make us having lower levels of some of these neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine. So genetically, we can be more predisposed to having depression. So genes is what we call, what we liken to a loaded gun, right? So you have a gun that is loaded, that is your gene, but you still need the environment to pull the trigger. So gene alone is not going to be sufficient to make one depressed. But coupled with environmental stress like COVID, then one can be pushed over to depression.
Okay, so go back to depression on children. So so what is childhood depression specifically, and maybe doctor want to elaborate on are parents with depression history, their kids prone to have childhood depression as well?
Yes, there is a vulnerability for someone living with other family members who are depressed. They are more likely to become depressed because they learn the depressing way of thinking. For example, being very negative about things, so all this can be modeled. Children can model their parents about this. So as a result, they are more vulnerable to suffer from depression if they, have parents who have been depressed. Yes, that is true.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I mentioned, you can also learn to be resilient against depression. So that is the upside.
Yeah. Okay. So that is about some, like the childhood depression is mostly because maybe of the family background, and then maybe because of the environment, Okay, and how about depression in cancer patient for like children? Okay, and their family members. How so? I believe, doctor, you have some cases that you would like to share with us. Like, how do you treat them? You know, what kind of treatment that you provide them in these cancer patients, especially for kids, for children and their family members.
Yes, have different ways of different treatment. Actually, looking at the cancer cells, we do a liquid biopsy where we were able to monitor the cancer cells and see whether what treatment is being most successful against a particular type of cancer, called the CTC, circulating tumor cells. We work with the RGCC, which is one of the premier laboratory in the world for cancer, for example. So it is possible to look at successful options to treat various type of cancer, from using natural substance to even chemo, which one are most successful, and you can tailor that, measure the progress. But psychologically, we can also help cancer patients to achieve resilience. We use hypnosis, for example, hypnotherapy, and you can. Children are very hypnotizable, very open to being suggestions. So we can hypnotize a child to develop more immunity and resilience against even cancer, that they can see the white blood cells to fight against the cancer, for example. That can all be done through hypnotherapy, and there are a lot of research papers to show that work very well, to increasing good quality of life. We provide family therapy for the whole family to cope much better, with all these changes. I think is how to have a better quality of life, even with this terrible disease.
Okay, so so where can these patients or their families get help if, for example, like from the center, from your center, or from psychology center, or from some rehabilitation centers?
Yes, at the International Psychology Center, we provide family therapy, child therapy, individual psychotherapy, do the assessments. We also have WellLab, where we do all these anti-cancer tests as well. So all these available. We can run the resilient camp. Maybe we can do an online version of it. So yeah. Yeah.
So and what is the probability to recover from depression? Is it like something that is, you can just press the undo button and then it can be reversed? Is it something that
so this is
reversed?
So this is a very important message. The depression is very treatable, very reversible.
Yeah. So audience, very treatable, okay, and very reversible, okay? Depression is not the end of the world. Okay.
Yes, it's like the sun is out there, but it's just temporarily being covered by some dark clouds. We need to have that faith that the clouds will go away, and we'll be able to have the sun shine through again.
So, doctor, can we reassure the audience that it is 100% can be reversed?
Yes, totally, 100%.
Yes. Doctor say yes. Okay. So, but normally, how long does it take? Like the longest period of time that you have, maybe you have.
Well, I mean,
those cases.
Nowadays we have a lot of very effective treatments. Like we were able to change even the childhood program, the schema that we mentioned, technical schema therapy. We are able to go back and modify even very entrenched schema. So how long it takes, it depends on some of the psychological program that one has, right? If one has a lot of psychological program would be longer to change this program. They all can be done totally.
Okay. Yeah. So another question from the audience is, can we, just one last question, sir, because we're running out of time already. Okay, so can we boost our melatonin, okay, serotonin and dopamine? Is it dopamine or dopamine? Naturally, and through meditation and through exercise?
Very much so. Dopamine, we can do novel things like listening to music. Every day I would try to find some new music. It's a great way to boost your dopamine, do something new, and certainly exercise, and especially exercise that you do with others would be an increasing amazing way. Go dancing, for example. That will help to boost your dopamine very much. Join the Lions Club. You have a great social ways to help others, and by helping others and doing charitable work, these are great ways to increase our serotonin level. That definitely doing kind deeds. These are all great ways without drugs to do that. And certain diets like certain nuts and pistachio nuts will increase the melatonin very naturally. So you can do that. Yeah.
So we can do it through music, meditation, exercise, and also of course the supplements that you mentioned, right?
Indeed, yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. I think we have covered many things today, and I hope all the audience benefited from the talk today. I'm sure that you are. I can see some more questions coming in, but because due to the time constraint, we can't have any more questions.
And well, they can always send us an email to us. They can put an email address there, but my email is edward@psychology.com.my, so you can just email me directly. Anything.
Yeah. Okay. So so now it's our quiz time. Thank you for staying with us until the end, all the audience. Okay, now it's the time to get prizes. Okay, so we have some very fabulous, mysterious prizes for you. Okay, should I tell the prize now? Since it's already at the end. Okay, right. All right. So, Dr. Edward, is it okay if I ask the questions and then you let the audience know whether they got the right answer or not? Okay. Yeah.
Of course.
Okay, so you can put your answer in the chat box, and then our committee will see who's the fastest one will get the prize. Okay, so we can ask questions, I think. Yeah. Okay, so name 2 things you can do to prevent depression. So I see chat box. Okay, so my committee member, please, when you type your answer, can you please put down your contact number as well? Because I think my committee member will jot down the name, the fastest one, and then we'll ask you for contact number so that we can have your address and then to send out the prizes. All right? Okay, I can see many numbers coming in, and then they are so quick. I tell you, doctor. I think you can see from the chat as well. Okay, all right. So doctor, the answer. Okay, let's see the first one. They say, okay, let's see, meditation and exercise. Doctor?
Yep.
Is it correct?
Those are very useful.
Eat and eat well, dancing and meditation, exercise and good sleep. I think all spot on, huh?
Yes.
Yes, all spot on. Okay, so my committee, please choose the first one, the fastest one. All right. So my second question is, okay, are you guys ready? Okay. My second question is, who are the organizers of this talk? You can write either one, because we have co-organizer. I mean, yeah, partner. So let me see. Remember, when you type your answer, you need to type your phone number. We got very brilliant audience here, doctor. Okay, so they say Lions and IPC. Correct? Yeah, very good. Okay, so my third question is, can we get the melatonin from pharmacies without the prescription from doctor in Malaysia? Very fast. So many. No coming. Okay. So doctor, the answer is no, huh?
That's
okay.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, good. All right. So we'd like to announce the winner. Doctor, I just need to confirm with you again. So it's 2 vouchers for 1 free depression consultation session, and then also the free e-psychology health magazine, right?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Maybe we can ask one more question. Just one more question, a quick one. Okay. Name 2 symptoms of depression, because we have 4 prizes to give out. Phone number, don't forget. Okay, so my committee member, please send in the fastest one to me so that I can announce the winner. So our winner for the first question is from LCJJ. So I think maybe it's Lions Club of Johor Jaya. I don't know whether is it true. Ku Yan Ling. Congratulations, Ku Yan Ling. Okay, you got a voucher for 1 free depression consultation session. And our second winner is Badria Ria. Congratulations, Badria. You got vouchers for 1 free depression consultation session as well. Okay, and the third one is Yonggi. Okay, Y-O-O-N-G-I, Yonggi. Congratulations, Yonggi, you're fast. Okay, so you will get a free e-psychology health magazine, and it's October 2020 edition. So it's still hot cakes, okay? All right. And then, wow, Fiona Chi, you are very fast. Is this the Fiona Chi that I know? Ryan, Fiona Chi? Okay, so you got the 4th prize. It's also a free e-psychology health magazine, October 2020 edition. Congratulations to all our winners, okay? Congratulations. All right. So, Doctor, thank you very much for your time tonight. And I believe that all of us have benefited from this talk, okay? So, do you want to say something to the audience to wrap up the talk tonight?
Well, yes, great to see so many of you. I know it has taken us a few weeks to get this organized. And let us use this opportunity of the COVID pandemic, the RCMMCO, to develop our resilience, to really reclaim back our health and to make depression reversible. So this is the message that I hope can be sent out to everyone, despite all the gloomy statistics. We can do a lot to really reverse depression. All right, so hope is there.
Yeah, there's always hope there. Yeah, I remember doctor said it's 100% reversible. That is a very good news to everyone. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so thank you, Dr. Chan, and then thank you all the audience. Thank you, Lions. Thank you, my committee member, for such a meaningful talk for tonight. Yeah. So thank you and good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone.